horror fam to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm here with my co-host Duff. Just Duff again.
This is becoming a trend, Mike.
I know, I'm starting to get concerned.
Are they
Listen to
okay? Should we do a
send out
wellness
this,
check?
yeah, send out the search parties. On today's show, we'll go over a list of our favorite scare zones we would like to see become houses that have not yet. And before we get to that, though, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365 and on TikTok at HHN365pod. We have an amazing Discord community. You can always join us. The link is in the description. We have a merch shop at HHN365.com. You can always join us in the discussion by leaving a voicemail at 407-906-4134. But before we get to our main segment, we also have a lot of news to go over.
Yeah, definitely. So on our end, I do want to tell you it was a joke. We do not need to send a wellness check out because we know they're all right because they join our YouTube lives all the time. And we just had another one with Jonathan and Jonathan from the hotline. Definitely want to point that out. Always a great guest of ours. It was phenomenal having him on a YouTube live as well, where we got to literally just do a Orlando versus Hollywood comparison, watching the walkthroughs of the shared IPs from last year. So that was a lot of fun. So please go check that out. Subscribe.
Yeah, they're totally fine, by the way. Yeah.
It's a blast.
They're on vacation. Some of them are on vacation too.
Yes, they're very fun. Actually, vacation.
Yeah.
A lot more fun than recording with us, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But outside of that, there is some news regarding Halloween Horror Nights as well. First, we're going to go over to Horror Unleashed, where there was a TEA story panel, and members of Universal Creative gave some details about this coming attraction to Las Vegas. So some of the highlights that I'm going to go over here from Attractions Magazine. Let's see what they were saying. So there will be over 40 individual rooms / sets in each haunted house. I definitely assume that means more sets than rooms because 40 rooms would be like 4 times the size of the average house.
I mean, that would be amazing if that's what we were getting. But I
don't think
highly
have
doubt
4 houses that are 4 times the size of the average house. That'd be great. I just feel like this means more sets than rooms.
I guess, yeah. Is that what they mean?
They have to. It literally just says rooms and sets. So I think it means like a combined rooms and sets kind of deal.
Or are we sure it means at each haunted house, or are we just talking about like I could see 40 rooms total, like
the way
10 each.
The way they put it out there is each haunted house.
That's crazy.
40 rooms for four haunted houses would basically be the average of ones we see at Halloween Horror Nights. So that would make sense. But that's not how this was worded in the article. So another thing is that some of these bars will double as scare zones, while others are safe spaces. So I think when we talked about this on the episode, we discussed the announcement of Horror Unleashed. We definitely knew that these would be scare zones and bars. I don't think we were aware that some of them will be safe spaces.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, I guess it's probably good to have. There's people who aren't going to want to be immersed in that horror the entire time they're there. So go a place where they can kind of escape that, but not feel like they're out of it. Like still a cool place to hang out and not just go hide in a corner kind of deal.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a good thing to have for sure. So this is something that we've been speculating for a while. A, will they do it? B, how often? And that's that they confirmed that there are going to be frequent IP rotations as well as seasonal overlays. Interiors are black box spaces, so think to the UBE space that they have in Hollywood, if you know about that, where basically it's a black box they can do whatever they want with. It can be changed out for festivals, holiday twists, extending well beyond the short-lived Halloween run.
Interesting.
So something we definitely wanted, right?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely wanted them to keep it fresh as often as possible.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that is completely the plan. I was a little worried that maybe they wouldn't do well enough to ever get to that point, but it sounds like right off the bat they're already planning what's next.
Planning on it.
So we should at least be able to see some rotation. There will be an overarching storyline that weaves all the houses together with separate interactive moments. That is fun. I did not
Interesting.
expect them to try to tie all the houses together. I thought, the event as a whole would have kind of a storyline, but each house, interesting.
Very interesting.
This is a quote from one of the show producers, Sean Chung. What happens when you walk into this space, and from the moment you walk into the moment you walk out, you are completely immersed in that world of horror. One overarching storyline connects all the houses as well as the space in between.
Interesting. And
Uh, Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and I wonder if they're gonna keep that going with when they start like changing things out too. Like if they are going to try to like you know keep the overarching storyline when they bring in a new IP and stuff like that.
I feel like they have to, right? Like, if this is how they're setting it up, it would be really weird to suddenly just have an IP that doesn't fit at all anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not unlike theme parks and themed entertainment to kind of drop original concepts that sound cool
Right.
when it becomes too
Right.
difficult. So we'll see if this actually sticks. Something that is exciting and that we said was kind of necessary for this experience, with especially the price point. It was hinted at there it would potentially be a conga line free experience. So thank you. That's very necessary.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that they could come up with some sort of situation, cap the attendance where they don't have to do conga lines all night.
Hmm. And then it's said that Universal isn't really positioning Horror Unleashed to compete with other haunted attractions, but rather other entertainment venues. So think Cirque du Soleil, think Area 15, stuff like that.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And that's basically it from that Horror Unleashed panel, which, to be fair, that's for all the info we've already gotten, that's a good bit right there and
Yeah.
confirms a few things we were really hoping to hear.
It definitely flushes out kind of some of the stuff and at least makes them seem like that they have thought out some of the concerns that we had.
Hmm. Yeah. So here's hoping it all comes out in this fashion, that it actually looks like the way they're describing it, and that it is also successful, most importantly.
Does this all kind of being laid out, does it make you more excited for Horrors Unleashed? Because I have to admit it does make me more excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think the the main thing that makes me the most excited is uh, it's not full confirmation, but the fact that they kind of hinted at not having conga lines feels like that's what they're going to do. So that's exciting for sure, because that just enhances the experience. And while I thought that's what they do, I was hoping that's what they would do. I could see them totally just having conga lines. So I'm very excited to hear that.
That part really excites me. Also, I think that really excites me that that they're going to do like holiday overlays, things like that.
Hmm.
Like really kind of make it like a special, like make it special to return more than once or twice a year. I
Yeah,
think
there's a reason to come back.
yeah, I mean, when we first heard this announcement, that was kind of where all of our brain went. That you had the ability to do that, and then we didn't hear much about it for a very long time. So, so we started to get concerned. But now we're starting to, have them actually say, no, no, this really is going to be part of the experience.
Hmm.
I that makes me feel better.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, it seems like they're immediately going into it, right? Bring up the
Right.
holiday overlays and how kind of simple it is for them to bring stuff in and out. So very exciting. And it
Right.
sounds like
So
we
yeah,
will see this rotation.
we might have a Christmas overlay as soon as this year.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly.
that'll be exciting.
But what do you say we move on to rumors, where really we just have one, but it's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's a meaty one, and it just dropped. What as of recording this, it just dropped yesterday, right?
Yesterday. Yeah. So by the time you hear this, it's several days old, but it's still big news nonetheless. And that rumor, we're not sure currently if this is for Orlando, Hollywood, or both, but it's coming from the insider Legacy, and it is that the long awaited IP, Scream, will be making its first official appearance, at least in Orlando, this year at Halloween Horror Nights. Legacy has kind of clarified this would be Scream 5 and 6. That's a big talking point we will get to. But before we really dive into those parts, let's just go over what Legacy said.
Mhm.
He does believe that this probably would be both coasts, but has stated that doesn't actually know that. That's more just a guess at this point because there's no way it's going to be an exclusive, right? There's just no way.
I mean, that would be usually when you get something this big, it's going to be both coasts.
Exactly. And then also Legacy then kind of goes on to tease that we would be getting an announcement. Doesn't fully say that would be Scream. I don't think it would be, to be honest. But timeline wise, kind of put it in the same area as talking about Scream. So thought I'd include that part here as well.
Oh, he said we were getting an announcement soon. That's what he said.
Yeah, kind of hinted at it near like the end of this month is kind of what it was pointing at.
Gotcha.
I would not expect it to be Scream by any means, though. But let's talk about Scream. So Scream 5 and 6. What do you think? Would you be excited?
I would be excited. I would be the fact I would actually be very excited, and for that fact, I am trying to not. I'm not holding my breath here. I am a little skeptical because I do think this would be a pretty big get. Um,
Hmm.
and it's fallen through before. I'm not holding my breath. Um, I'm just not quite sure about it.
Yeah. So would it be exciting? Yeah, I think when Scream 5 came out, I literally said it would be a better fit for HHN than the original. It just gives you a bit more to work with while having the same basic plot and a bunch of ghost face. And if you tie in Scream 6 as well, you really expand the sets and places that you can visit. Um,
Right.
so those two films on their own, I think, is kind of a sticking point for a lot of people in this room, and they're like, okay, Scream, that's cool. However, why these two?
Right.
Um, and first of all, I think it works personally. I think 5 and 6 would do just fine as a house. But also, the rights are tough. Um, as you know, Scream is something that has been very difficult to bring to the event for Horror Nights. And you know, it's something they want. They've literally built the house before and had to, well, they didn't take it down. They just kind
Yeah.
of covered it in purge
quickly
stuff.
quickly modify it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, right now, the original franchise, 1 through 4, is owned by Disney. That is the
Yeah.
parent company of those films right now. Whereas 5 and 6 is Paramount.
So that's probably why the 5 and 6 would happen
Hmm.
is that they just could not. There was no way they could get the rights for the original series.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot of reasons right now Paramount would want to play ball. Obviously, Scream 7 coming up soon, the whole reboot rumor moving forward, but also kind of shrouded in controversy at the moment. Obviously, the firing of Melissa Barrera for speaking up for Palestine, uh,
Hmm.
a huge sticking point and issue, for sure. I don't know if I'm excited for Scream 7 in any way. Actually, I know I'm not because of that. But the point being is that they don't have the best PR right now. They could
Yeah,
use some help.
that makes a lot of sense. Actually, I can see them basically just trying to kind of PR this away by putting Scream out there as much as they possibly can, leading up to the release of Scream 7.
Hmm. And I mean, HHN, as far as horror goes, event wise, is as big as it gets.
Right.
And I think you can see that while it looks like if you're on the internet, you're on social media, anytime Scream is brought up now, it's typically negative for the fans. This rumor is being talked about, and it's not very negative, I'll tell you that. So you can kind of see how this would cover up the issues that are currently surrounding this franchise.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Um, whether I think it's gonna happen or not, I don't know. I'm not fully convinced yet. I will say, talking through those reasons of why this could come and why it's the right time for Universal to strike, because honestly, I think it is the right time for Universal to strike in the sense of the best time for them to be able to acquire the property. Um, I still don't know. I still don't know that I'm
Oh,
fully bought in on if this is happening.
on that same note, though, do you really think Universal kind of wants to like jump into like and potentially like link themselves to a like a controversy that involves like the firing of her and like I don't know, I would potentially see them trying to like, yeah, we want this eventually, but let's hold off and see how Scream 7 does
Mhm.
before we want to, dip our toe in the
Yeah.
water here.
I
I
will
don't
say
know.
also, counterpoint potentially, what if this is kind of the last chance because 5 and 6 did not have that controversy? Once 7 comes out, you've kind of kicked the can past point of no return. The film that had the controversy is now out. Maybe they feel like they can hide behind it being the previous films.
That's possible too, but I think it's more just like Scream Scream in general kind of like I mean I guess I haven't been following as much as you does. Is it affecting the entire franchise or is it just affecting
Oh yeah,
potentially just that
it's
film?
effect. I mean, they've literally come to this. It sounds like there's going to be a reboot after this. It's kind of put the franchise in a shitstorm,
Gotcha.
deservedly so, to be fair. But yeah, it's not going well for Scream currently because of those actions they took.
Yeah, so that it potentially makes me think that Universal does not want to get in the middle of that shitstorm. Doesn't want to
That's
risk
fair.
it at all. So I don't know. I would like this. I think it would be I think of something that we've been wanting for a very long time. Um, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. I really don't.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like they'd be excited to be able to acquire just because it is Scream, but it's really going to be a balancing act on where they want to, not even where they stand, but how people view them because of that.
Right.
So yeah, I am curious how they would even look at that in the first place. Um, at the end of the day, I do think if it was dangled in front of them, it would be very hard for Universal not to take Scream.
Right. Right.
Whether that's the right choice or not, irrelevant. It's Scream, and you know they've come so close before.
Yeah, and I think that by the time the announcement comes and the event comes, I don't know if people are still going to be like, will the controversy still be as hot and like
I think
obviously the
so.
Palestine issue is still going to be as strong as ever, but what the actual firing and everything is still going to be on people's minds as much.
I mean that firing occurred longer ago than we are from the film coming out at this point. So yeah, I think until after this film is out, it's not going to die down.
Yeah.
So
Well, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be. I mean, I think it will be a potentially fun house. I like the Scream movies. I don't think I've actually seen five. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. I definitely saw six. Six is the one that's set in New York, right?
yes, correct.
Maybe I've seen five. I don't know. They all kind of blend
Five
together.
is the one that just feels like Scream all over again.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the rebooty one, right? A
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah, basically.
Like not a full reboot, but
It's the
like
one with Mikey Madison and Jack Quaid.
yeah, okay, okay. I think I did see that. I think I did see that, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I thought both films were actually pretty good. I had no issues with them. Um, Scream Seven's a different story, but we don't decide if Universal is bringing this to the event at the end of the day. So I am very curious to see what they'll do because it's a little risky. It's a little risky.
Man, Mikey Madison and Jack Quaid sure have come a long way. And
Yeah,
they're
I know, right?
literally on it. Like Jack Quaid is in everything right now.
Yeah,
He's just like everywhere. And Mikey Madison is now an Academy Award winner.
from just being in Scream a few years ago. That
Yeah,
is, yeah, meteoric rise.
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, but we'll keep tabs on this rumor and see if we end up getting Scream at Halloween Horror Nights this year. And I'm very curious to see how people react to this rumor if it does come true. Because I see a lot of excitement now, but I wonder if a lot more of the uh, pessimism behind it will come to the forefront if this gets announced.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure. All right.
But that's
Any?
actually
Yeah, go
oh
ahead.
no, that's all we have for rumors. That's it. That's luckily it was a big one.
Yeah,
So we've kind of complained that we haven't had too much to talk about recently. We only got one thing, but it was a big thing.
yeah. It'll
So
be
there's that.
interesting to hear the others' takes on it as well. For
Yeah,
sure.
for sure,
So we'll definitely won't be done talking Scream. So definitely check back if you want to hear what their takes on it.
for sure. With that, I think we could go to our main segment, and I think we have a pretty fun concept for this one, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead. You can lay it out for us.
Sure. So I think we've actually done this or something very similar to it, like 5 years ago, like near the start.
Have
Um,
we? I have a hard
yeah,
time
I don't,
remembering.
I don't
I
think it
don't.
was this exact thing, but like it tied in. Anyways, today's main segment is going to be looking back at scare zones that we have experienced or maybe not experienced in the past that we would like to see become houses. Now, I'll be honest, there's a lot of possible answers here. So I really tried to narrow my list down to ones that would make it more interesting for the reasoning because my list could be like 40, and it's not.
Right.
It's very much not.
Right. Yeah. For me, I kind of chose ones that like either ones that I really like and I think could translate well, or ones that I was like, they were the execution wise for as a scare zone wasn't quite amazing, but potentially there's there was something there that I think could work better as a house.
Mhm.
So I kind of went both
Yes.
ways.
Yes. I actually have that same reasoning. I think on two of them. So this will be an interesting list. And I think we have one on my list that'll probably cross over. Um, so I'm actually just going to kick us off with that one and let me know if it is on your list or not.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
it's one that it gets talked about on this show a lot, potentially being a house one day. Not that we actually think it will, but we would love it. That's Vanity Ball from HHN 29.
I actually purposely left this one off because I thought
Perfect.
you would cover it. So
Perfect. I don't think we're going to have any crossover then, so that's good. But Vanity Ball, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else we could really add to that we haven't said on this podcast. I think aesthetically, on its own, it would stand out as a house, right? Like you could leave the story and the characters aside, but just the pure aesthetic is something we've really never had in a house. Um, the Art Deco, Art Nouveau, the colors, the energy, the music. It would just be a ton of fun on its own having that. But I
yeah,
think there is like a much deeper story to explore.
definitely,
Because I
definitely.
mean, it's basically based around these doctors, if you will. I don't know if they're actually doctors. Did they receive their doctorates? We're not sure. Probably.
I
Um,
think they are. They like plastic surgeons. I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, but I think you can really get more into the backstory of why it has turned this way, or has it always been this way? Um, it just feels like not that it needed to be more fleshed out in the zone. I think the zone worked perfectly as it was, but there's a lot more room to explore the story behind this, and they could have a lot of fun with character design. A lot of fun.
definitely, definitely. So yeah, like I said, I love this zone. I definitely would have put this on my list if I didn't think you were going to put it on. But I agree with you. I think this would be 100% to work perfectly. Um, I think it was nearly one of my favorite. I mean, that was a very strong zone year that I think we'll get to. I talk about shortly because a couple of others might be showing up on my list
Hmm.
from this year. But it was definitely a standout from that year as well.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing
It was low
zone.
hanging fruit, but
Yeah,
we needed to put it on.
yeah.
So, what do you
Uh,
have as your first one, Mike?
all right. Well, let's stay at HHN 29, and my one that I have is, I think, is Anarcade. I think
Ah, I knew it.
Anarcade. I think, while the story wasn't fleshed out very well, I think that there was a bit of a story there that could be fleshed out more, and I think you could potentially make something here that was more than just the zone, and really kind of expand what they did there. I liked the zone. It ended up becoming my favorite one, but I know a lot of people just kind of said that it was kind of a photo op zone. There wasn't much there going for it, but for that reason, I really think you could potentially expand on it and really make an amazing house out of it.
Yeah, as you know, I'm the person on the other side of what you just described. I think the zone is probably the most aesthetically beautiful like thing we have seen at HHN. Um, I don't think it was a fleshed out good zone, and that's more just due to where it was and how they laid those zones out at the end of the day. But I agree that there's definitely something there that you could work with, almost to what I said about Vanity Ball, like just what it is based on how it looks and how it feels. Like it would be like no house we've ever had before. I'm curious though, is this to you more like are we going to be at an arcade, or is it like some Wreck It Ralph shit and we're in the games?
I was thinking that we were kind of maybe a little bit of both. Maybe you start in the arcade, and then you kind of potentially go into the games. So kind of like
Mm,
Wreck It Ralph shit, where you get a little bit of both. Like you get kind of the world we're in, and then you also go into some of the games as well.
mm. Okay, I dig it. I'm into it. I would take it. I think that's a perfect example of like one. I know not for you because you liked it as a scare zone as is, but as like one that I think I wanted so much more out of for a scare zone from what I saw, and putting it at a house would give you that opportunity for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely wanted more out of it, but I thought for what it is, it was also really great.
Mm,
Um, I think, like, aesthetically, like you said, it was one of the more beautiful things that we've ever gotten at an HHN, and it's just so iconic. Think still people still have their Facebook photos and stuff from from when
oh yeah,
they were taken in that zone.
oh yeah. It's like it's perfection. It's HHN perfection on pure just like aesthetics, and that's why it kind of became a photo op zone because it fucking looked cool. Of course, you want to take photos next to the cabinets and the stilt walkers and um,
Yeah.
everything, everything.
My main gripe is that a lot of it was just kind of like the chainsaws or whatever. But if
Hmm.
you can't do those in the houses necessarily, or you can't do only that, so
Hmm.
you definitely get to kind of flesh out and add more to it. So I think that um, for that reason, I think we could get a lot more of scares and kind of variety of the characters.
Hmm.
All right,
All
what
right.
is your number two?
So I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna give you two scare zones. Um, I'm gonna go first to Acid Assault from HHN 21, as well
Ooh,
as Survive or Die for HHN 26. So as you can kind of see, I'm picking out almost an aesthetic here, a very post-apocalyptic kind of world they should be in. However, kind of two sides of the token. Acid Assault, of course, basically. Um, the acid rain. Like
yeah.
it's almost you could be like causing the apocalypse versus what's left of it, and these factions that are trying to gain power within the world that is left. I think aesthetically they were both amazing. However, think Survive or Die was a slight letdown of a zone, and Acid Assault was a great zone, a phenomenal zone. So if we can kind of marry these together and just consider them one property, uh, and a big thing for me for Acid Assault is the the projection mapping they did on the buildings and how integral that would be to what I would look for aesthetically in a house that kind of has these two together. Um, just watching the world around you melt, it was incredible. And having that in a more contained space like a house, can you imagine how good they could make that look? Especially now, what are we, 14 years later?
Yeah.
It, the things they could do with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I actually thought about adding acid assault as well, so I'm glad I didn't. But just to add variety. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that aesthetic would be pretty amazing. And you could definitely have a lot to work with. You can make it feel like everything is crumbling around you. Kind of similar to what they did with The Last of Us, but definitely make it way bigger and way more technology, a lot more special effects.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And then just tying in the survive or die aspect really kind of adds that additional story where it was an acid assault, but it wasn't as easy to read. And I think still in a house it wouldn't be. Um, so very similar things going on, and it kind of gives you the aesthetic, it gives you the story. It should be a fucking great house.
Definitely, definitely. All right. Well, that's a good one. I am going to stay at HHN 29 and just do my second one from HHN 29. But really, if you listened last week, I also said Hellbilly Deluxe could potentially make a good one. So really, there's only one scare zone that I from HHN 29 that I don't think could make a good house. And that is was Zombieland.
Vikings.
No,
Oh,
so
Zombieland.
Zombieland. So the one I'm about to say is actually Vikings hunting.
Oh, all right. All right.
I think potentially now I didn't necessarily love this zone. I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good, but I think that this could actually make if how like a really amazing house similar to like if they do like really elaborate sets and like establish us in like this Viking town very similar what they did with like Dead Man's Pier or what's the other one that was kind of it's escaping me at the moment. The other one that's like from the year after that was like set in a town,
Oh, set in a town from the year. Are you talking about the house or the zone?
a house.
Oh, Blood Moon.
Blood Moon. Yes, I'm sorry. Like Blood Moon. I think if you kind of have really elaborate sets like that, along with kind of like the Norse story and like North mythology, this could be really a really amazing house.
Yeah, I think Vikings are kind of just a missed genre for HHN for the most part. This scare zone obviously was Vikings. It was leaving something to be desired for sure.
I think it
But
was the location. I think this
yeah,
location potentially always leaves something to desire for me.
I mean, but I've loved a lot of scare zones in this location. I think it was just more the execution. I appreciate how they kind of had almost um, the show scenes, like
Yeah,
kind of off to the side. That was fun. But it kind of didn't, it felt more like a walkthrough experience almost because of that. Um, but I think, yeah, you could definitely apply that to a house and it would fix a lot of the problems.
definitely. All right, what's your next one?
I think for my next one, I'm going to hop back to one that I did not see. That was from HHN 13, and that would be Night Prey. Um, I will say Night Prey shared the same characters as you would have seen in Jungle of Doom. As you know from the Scare Zone a couple of years ago, you kind of needed new characters for Jungle of Doom, uh, likely because it would be insensitive to like natives. like native islanders. So, but
Yeah.
the premise of what this zone was is where I want to go. For one big reason. So basically, you're in a tropical island. Um, However, this is a volcanic island. So you are going to be experiencing fire and fog while in the jungles. And this is just a setting that I feel like you could get really immersed in a house. If they really did the sets well, it could be so beautiful. The activity of the volcano, the fire, it would feel very alive. Um, I feel like you can basically just replace this with like actual like monsters that would be native to this island, um, and you'd be good to go. You really wouldn't need to do too much story wise. It's more just here for what the setting and the scenic is.
That is interesting you would say that because I my next one is actually Jungle of Doom.
Oh,
So
look at that.
so basically everything that you said for Night Prey basically fits for Jungle of Doom. Except I do think that the Oddfellow story I would love to see Oddfellow come back. I think he's an icon that you could have back again and give him his own house. Um well, he got his own house, but you give him his own house again.
Mhm.
I think adding the Oddfellow element to everything that you said would really make this a house that I would love to see.
Yeah. I would totally be okay, with this being like a Oddfellow story, but Night Prey. I could see it fitting in perfectly. I mean, Night Prey and Jungle of Doom basically shared a scare zone almost. Like they were both in Jurassic Park. They shared the same year, so they were right next to each other.
Okay,
Um,
so they're both very
yeah,
similar.
so that's why they're so similar, like aesthetically. The main difference is kind of like volcanic island versus more just pure jungles.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, you could basically tie these together, and we basically have the same house at the end of the day.
Yeah. My Jungle of Doom was an HHN 32's Jungle of
Was
Doom
the scare zone?
with a
Yeah,
scare zone, but it's the same thing. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think literally just toss Oddfellow in that kind of same storyline he was experiencing in Jungle of Doom. Maybe make the
Yeah.
timeline a tad different. Apply it to Night Prey. Perfect. I'm cool with that.
Cool. All right. Well, then I am going to basically add in one of my ones real quick that was kind of an honorable mention because and we ended up kind of sharing the same one. So I'm going to throw in here while we're still talking about Oddfellow, I would say Dark Zodiac could
Oh,
potentially make an interest. Now, this one is like kind of out there because I do think that um aesthetically of like what the world would really need to be fleshed out. There wasn't a lot necessarily about like what the actual dark zodiac world would look like, but with some fleshing out and that really think there is a potential here that you could build a really cool story and world where we actually get immersed in what the zodiac realm looks like. I think that would be pretty cool.
yeah. I think there's definitely a lot to work with there. Obviously, in the scares only you could only expand so much on each zodiac itself. You know, basically represented by the character, and if they were lucky, a stage, and that's it. And obviously, in a house, you get to work with so much more.
Right. It'd be really interesting kind to see what they would be able to build from it.
Hmm. Well, I'm going to actually hop in here because I have a very similar answer. So I'm going to uh, Jungle of Doom, your Night Prey, and my next choice is actually Demon Queens.
Oh,
So
okay.
aesthetically, very similar. The year after yours,
Uh-huh.
one that again I didn't really love overall. I saw potential, but don't think it fully got executed in the scare zone. But I think uh, being in this kind of, it's not even otherworldly. Like you're just kind of out in like the cosmics, you know, like there's going to be portals and just stuff that you've never seen in a house before at all, actually. Kind of like a true space house, not even like on a spaceship, not interstellar terror, but you're actually just out in this cosmic universe, and truly they get to develop the different realms of these queens.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever gotten anything quite like that.
I think it would be very tough to pull off. Don't get me wrong. I think the scenic would not be easy, um, to portray where you are, or to make it not feel repetitive. But I think there's enough there for that, especially because of the different queens. So you can really flesh out the differences in their worlds, in their realms, um, and then obviously leading up to a surreal at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think, um, yeah, like you didn't love Demon Queens, and not because it was there wasn't potential there. I just think there was a little bit of missed potential. I
Hmm.
think um I wished for more, and so being able to get more out of it, I think would be pretty exciting.
For sure.
All right. Well, my next one is a little bit of a deep cut, coming from HHN 24. This is actually a zone that I didn't necessarily care for, but I think that there is something here that could be a pretty good, like pretty interesting location, and that is Masquerade Unstitched.
Oh, okay.
I think that this execution wasn't necessarily the best for this zone. I think the Avenue of the Stars always just, or Plaza of the Stars, is just a really hard location to flesh out. But I think in an actual house, I think this could be a really cool idea here, where we actually are put in the, right into the ball, into the masquerade. Um, it could be a pretty scary, claustrophobic, where you have the wax dripping down. Could be pretty awesome, kind of gory. There's a lot of potential here.
Yeah, I think a zone for me that did not really hit the way I would have hoped it to, um, but would definitely deserve a chance to be something more. Um, and I really do think there is something you could build off of there because Masquerade at the end of the day as a zone kind of felt like just a like a mashup, right? Like it didn't really feel like there was a story that you could pick up throughout this zone.
It felt like they had kind of tried to have one, but then at the end of the day, it didn't. The execution there wasn't
Correct.
really anything there.
Yeah, there was fully a story developed and that existed, but it's just something walking through you couldn't pick up on. It just
Right.
wasn't fleshed out physically.
Right. Exactly. All right.
Uh,
What's your next one?
yeah, so I guess this is gonna be actually the last one I have on my list, and this is a very random one that also was not very good, but I'm a huge fan of, and I'm going back to aesthetics again. I think that's such a big part. If you can nail an aesthetic in a house, build from there, you're good to go. Back to HHN 19's containment.
Hmm.
Um, so containment is a production central scare zone. So as you can imagine, set wise, very minimal. They did have this cool like containment unit truck, um, but the premise of it is basically that there's chemical warfare going on, and it's all like released aerial. So the way they did that is there was this bio nerve gas, aka fog with green light. So it appeared as a toxic green mist, and if you come in contact with this, you get infected and you melt. Basically, is the symptoms of this one. So you can kind of picture what the scare actors would look like, kind of face melting off, damage down the arms and hands, a lot of like hazmat suits that didn't do the job. um, character design, great.
Yeah.
Everything else, they didn't have what they needed. But this toxic green mist is really the only thing that made it palatable during the event year. Um, it looked very good just because you were walking to this green misty zone, and that's just horror nights, man. You know. So actually getting to fully flesh out this story, uh, kind of think like Dead Exposure Patient Zero, uh, sort of similar thing, but
Or like Havoc, Dogs of War.
yeah, exactly,
Like
and
Havoc, yeah.
it really gets into why this is happening and leading in before you actually experience being misted. So seeing the progression of these melted people, I'm sure in the zone it was really just kind of like half melted people. I think there's probably going to be further abominations as time passes on. So I think the base story is a lot of fun. There's an easy aesthetic to build off of, and they could create some really terrifying looking monsters.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know much about this, but everything that you just said is definitely a type of house that I like. I really like the kind of the loud, heavy metal. We're in the middle of a war zone type of
Hmm.
chaos is happening all around us, above us. We're in the trenches type of thing, and it sounds like would be similar to kind of what containment would be.
Absolutely, that's what the zone was. Just again, scenic, wasn't there. Storytelling wasn't there. And in a house, you can fix that really easily.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I have one last one, and I think this one is a little bit of low hanging fruit, but I really would like to see this return. It was personally not executed very well, in my opinion. So I would like to and try to see it come back, and that is Gorewood Forest or Terra Corinthus House. I would like to see the return of the Terra Queen, return of Terra Quintus, return of Gorewood Forest, and actually done kind of correctly in a sound stage where you can really give us almost kind of like Yeti, the most recent Yeti, where the trees and everything. You could really do a lot, or uh, the other one that was similar to that, A Quiet Place. Like, there's potential here that I've seen them do before. I think they could really make a Gorwood Forest and then a really amazing house.
I mean, you know that I'll take any Terra Corentis, period. Doesn't have to be Gorward Forest. It doesn't even have to be Terra Queen, also. You'd probably
Or
want.
dragons, I would say, maybe because it has very similar to dragons.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It feels like something they would have already done at this point. I can't believe they haven't. I'm only hoping they're gonna bust it out eventually, like an anniversary year or something. Like the Terror Queen is really back because Gourd Forest as a zone was honestly a huge letdown. Huge letdown. So yeah,
They should
please.
give her icon year officially.
Yeah,
Let her
yeah.
have her icon year. Let her come back officially for real. Let her have her icon year, because even the year that she was, technically the icon, she never really got to get it because we got the storyteller instead. So
Hmm.
let's finally give her icon year.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that, but you already knew that.
Yeah.
Is that it for our main segment
Yeah,
then?
that
We had
that's it
no.
for me. I used up my honorable mention with Dark Zodiac. So that's all of them.
Cool. Well, I guess that's it for us. We don't have voicemail tonight, Mike.
No, I guess okay. Well, as always, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365, and on TikTok at HHN365 Pod. You can join our Discord. The link is in description, and you can discuss your favorite scare zones that you would like to see at a house. I'd love to see that, and a merch shop at We have a merch shop at hhn365.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 407 906 4134, and we'll see you in the streets.